It's very common. I think we've got to pay attention to is these people are believers. They are willing to give up their lives in this war, and they look at the world as us and them, and these little children you see that are are goading the, going along with this are also agreeing to become suicide bombers. And I think, in fact, that the Islamic State wouldn't mind some sort of offensive this summer led by the West, and they can say, look, just as we told you, the West is out to destroy us. So as I agree with Mike, this is an enemy that's going to be around for a long time. It's a virus that's going to be very difficult to kill because it's going to pop up in different parts of the world. And they're almost begging for the United States to put ground troops so that they can have a real enemy that they can fight and get more recruits.
And Bob, they have made extraordinary use of technology with a camera, some editing gear, and the internet. They're terrorizing the world. So why can't we shut them down?
You can't shut them down because they're sophisticated. They're using mobile Wi-Fi. They'll stop in the desert, take a shot at a satellite, upload their images, and that's the way they communicate. And they'll be up for 40 minutes, and they have found holes in the National Security Agency and the Cyber Command's defenses, and they understand this. And they've been reading Snowden. It's just a matter. These people are very sophisticated. They know what they're doing, and we simply can't close them down in cyber warfare.
You said something last night that resonated to a lot of people where you talked about the psychology of ISIS. You said basically that these guys were psychotic. What can you tell us about the mind of an ISIS fighter?
Well, they're looking at this as a clash of civilizations. I spent a lot of time in Israeli prisons talking to suicide bombers. And they look at it, we have to kill Israeli children and women because they will grow up to produce more soldiers, and we have to exterminate them all. It's very close to fascism. And they simply don't care, and these losses we're inflicting on them, and we are from the air, but at the end of the day, they look at it, they're producing martyrs, and they're simply going to recruit more. So it's much more than just simple propaganda. They are actually convincing people that it's worth dying in this fight, and this is why it's going to be so difficult to destroy this movement.
The question is, Mike, though, are they as powerful as many people think they are? How many men has ISIS actually got, and how much territory do they really control?
Well, they still think that territory is about the size of Indiana, maybe a little less now. But remember, there's still pretty robust fighting around Mosul. That hasn't been done. Kobani is in Syria, Mosul in Iraq. Neither one of those have been completely routed out. So, yes, they've stopped their advance. And this is very important language to listen when the president says it or some of his folks providing messaging for the president. They have stopped the advance of ISIL to greater territory, but they have not been able to disrupt their logistical operations and their ability to control large swaths of territory. That, again, is very concerning. Now, they've had an impact. They've hit a lot of the mobile production units that make gasoline for their own troops and for sale on the open market. That's happened. That's a good impact. But you have to remember, our intelligence on the ground inside of these areas is not very good. It's just not great. We don't have good eyes on their ability. So when you're talking about 1,000 bombs, that's great. If you only hit 3 things out of 1,000 drops, that's not a very successful event. That's why we should be very careful not to judge this in how many bombs